Well, welcome everyone. This is Mario, and this is our first installment of Leadership Corner. And just wanted to say thanks for tuning in. We're just trying to help as much as we can to help you in your disciple making journey, so that you can continue to reproduce disciples. And so, thanks for joining in today. And I thought the best way to kick this off is to start with our lead guy and something and a topic that I think is just so passionate to his heart. I said last week we would start with what's most important, and we're doing that today. And so I got Tom with us. Tom, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time. I know you're busy. You got a lot going on. So appreciate
Yeah,
you taking the time.
absolutely.
So this is our kind of our first go around with Leadership Corner. And, we're just trying to invest in people. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I mean, I think it's incredible. I think how we invest and what we pour into the lives of one another is so critical, especially today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know that as we were talking, I mean, I've heard you in multiple settings. It seems like if I bump Tom hard enough, something's going to come out of him, and it seems to be this thing abiding.
Yeah.
Where did you kind of latch onto the whole abiding thing, and what does that even mean?
Yeah, thanks, Mario. It's interesting because I tend to be a bit of a reflector, right? And so, I mean, there have been days and times when honestly, kind of maybe bearing my heart, my soul just a little bit here, when I've had to sit back and go like, is what I'm doing making any difference at all?
Yeah.
And I think we have probably all have been there, in some form or fashion, and you know, how do I steward my life in such a way to really make an impact on the kingdom and for His glory?
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole idea of abiding, I think it's kind of really introduced to not introduced to abiding because Scripture's always been there, but really to the depth of what it means. Some years ago, and even of recent days, I've just found myself going back to that scripture in John 15. Like, what does it mean to live this out? What's it look like?
When you say abiding, like what specifically does that mean in your mind? When you say that word abiding, yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I got the scripture here. So Jesus in John 15, for abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. So I think about the starting point. And then when I think about that scripture, gosh, I see a number of things going on. There's a lot going on in that
Yeah,
passage.
there's a ton.
There's a lot. And so I think about the command, to abide.
Mm-hmm.
I think of it also as an invitation
Mm-hmm.
to abide. And then I think of it as a partnership of what's between the Spirit and ourselves in producing the fruit that Jesus calls us to produce.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think all of that is going on. I don't think, and I've kind of worked this one through in my mind, or I am working it through in my mind. Do I abide in order to get more of Jesus?
Mm.
And I thought about that, and I think the answer is no.
Mm.
I don't abide because, Paul says this. He says, "Do you not realize about yourselves that Jesus Christ is in you?" So is it a way of like getting more of what we already have? And I don't think it's that. I do think it's about living in the presence of Jesus.
Yeah.
Living in His presence in everything that I do, and then letting that flow out from me. And that's the fruit, right? So we'll be known by our fruit, by our obedience to Jesus, by how we live out our lives. And of course, you got the fruit of the Spirit, and then of course, what's our purpose to make disciples? So that's what's kind of working around in my head. Command, invitation, partnership,
Yeah.
living in the presence of Jesus.
Yeah. And so, we have the people that are checking this out. I mean, a lot of them are at Gateway.
Yeah.
A lot of the people here are there's all along the journey. I mean, some have been following Jesus for a long time. And even when you say John 15, I mean, immediately the vine and branch just comes up right away. And others, we're just kind of getting this journey started and trying to figure out what would it look like to even to abide. And so,
Right.
for those of us that might be just getting started on the journey, what would you say, like, what are some practical things you would say, like, here's how to get started? Because,
Yeah.
it's so easy
Yeah.
for me, especially during this COVID time, it's just hard to start. And so what would
Yeah.
you say are some things I would do to kind of take some steps into abiding?
So when Dick Brogden was with us,
Hmm.
um, and spoke, and he gave me this coin. I don't know if you can see it or not, but
Yeah.
it's one of those challenge coins, right? And it says, "Abandon, abide, and apostle."
Mm.
Abandon, abide, and apostle. And I think abiding in Jesus first begins with abandonment.
Mm.
Like I'm going to give myself fully to him. I'm going to abandon my will,
Hmm.
my desires to him. So I think it does begin with intention on our part, going, Jesus, I give my life to you. I mean, I give up my own personal goals. I give up, the things that maybe consume my mind, and
Hmm.
I abandon myself to
Hmm.
you. I give myself fully to you.
Hmm.
So, you know, reading our Bibles, right? Getting
Okay.
into the living word, I think that's the beginning point. I'm reading Brother Lawrence's little booklet on practicing the presence of Jesus. And he's talking about, like, in everything you do, you train your mind, right? We're to train our minds
Hmm.
um, to recognize God in everything, in his presence. So I think there's training there. It's reprogramming, maybe,
Yeah.
you our thinking and our thoughts
Hmm.
daily. And of
Hmm.
course, prayer, and there are a number of spiritual disciplines. But I think it all begins with, like, are we in the Bible? Are we in the Word?
Hmm.
Not reading it to check a box,
Yeah.
but reading it to discover more of who Jesus is, and allowing him to do his work in my life.
Yeah. I was talking with one of my disciples this morning, and we were just coming to a point of just the struggle of him wanting to, I kind of like feed him, like, do this next thing, do this next thing, do this
Yeah.
next thing. And he wasn't getting it done. And it was just piling up on him. And as we just pulled back and I said, you know what? I'm giving you this stuff for the purpose that you will fall in love with Jesus. So it's
Right.
like, if we're doing all this stuff and there's not a love affair that's starting to happen between you and Jesus, we've got to press the pause button, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
this whole thing that I'm giving you stuff for is for that very thing, so that you would abide, that you would spend time with, you'd be in the presence of.
Yeah.
That just seems so important.
No, that's good wisdom, Mario. And I think that for all of us, there is something we can stop doing so
Yeah,
that we can start doing,
yeah,
right? It comes back to what's the most important thing. And I think particularly in this day and age, this is the most important thing.
yeah.
So what can we stop? Even just the one thing, so we can start this.
Well, what would you say, if I wanted to kind of have a resource or a thing, to kind of get started in abiding? Do you have like a recommendation of a book or a place to start or something like that?
Yeah. So, I don't want to sound too like, well, Mario, start with the Bible. Is that what you mean? So, of course, you start with the Bible. But so I'll give you a couple of things I think that I think would be really, really helpful. One, of course, is, obviously the Word. And what I want to say is that there are a lot of Bible plans. I have a particular routine, but then also this little booklet called "Practicing His Presence" by Brother Lawrence, and it truly is a booklet.
Okay.
And so I read a conversation a day. And he does talk about, here's some essentials, here's some practical. Now, he was alive in the 1600s or something like that, but
Hmm.
it's a classic. And it's really good. And it's chock full of conversations that help us rethink
Hmm.
our day and living in his presence, fully.
Okay. Well, I'll put that in the comments below so that you can see practicing the presence, and I'll put like an Amazon link, and that way people can get it if
Yeah,
they
I
want.
think it's like $5 or something.
Okay, that'd be cool. Well,
Yeah,
thanks for spending the time.
for sure.
I
Thanks,
appreciate it.
everybody.
Really do. And so,
Yeah.
thanks you guys for checking us out today. And just want to encourage you. There's so many things, as Tom was saying, we can do, but if we don't abide, none of it ends up bearing the fruit that we're supposed to. So let's start off this year in a way in which we're just abiding in Jesus, and allowing His life to flow through us as we go and make disciples. So thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with you next week. God bless.